Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet is accusing Mark Carney and the Liberals of being scared.
So far, I don't know what he's not afraid of. This guy is supposed to be strong enough to face Donald Trump, which is one of the biggest threats on democracy and freedom for a long time. I will face the guy. And then we say, hey, come in Quebec and discuss with us because you want us to vote for you. Oh, I won't go. I'm saying to him, hey, let's come and face the music.
Folks, the federal election has finally been called and the campaigns are on the way. We're moving into day 3. The leaders are going toe to toe. But before we get into today's video, I just want to ask, if you can, please hit the subscribe button, like the video, share it. And not just mine, the other content creators on here like Moose on the Loose, The Pleb, Elevate Podcast, Jasmine Lane, Anita K, Unacceptable French, Clyde Do Something. The list goes on, but it is now more important than ever that we get this content out there because there are still a lot of people who don't know who Mark Carney is, are unaware of the people he has surrounded himself with, and they just seem to also forget what the Liberals have put us through for the past 9-10 years. And obviously the mainstream media ignores a lot of these stories and doesn't report on them. Not to mention the YouTube algorithm just starts to switch and your videos aren't getting pushed as much. And all of a sudden I'm getting video recommendations for channels I've never heard of, never seen of before, never clicked on. Take this one, for example, this channel with less than 1,000 subscribers, Stop Polyev. This is now being forced to me, and we'll get back to this video in a second. But the main stories that I wanted to kind of touch on today is this French debate and Danielle Smith situation. Now, there are currently 2 dates coming up that are April 16th and 17th for the debates. There's going to be one in French and one in English. However, there was another offer that was proposed by TVA, one of the French networks in Quebec, that offered to do a debate with a $75,000 cover charge. Now, Carney seemed to not be for that and declined it, so now the debate is completely scrapped in that aspect. However, this panel on CBC talks about how this is very strange. Nobody ever really has seen this or heard of this. But when they start talking about Mark Carney and his French, how it is poor, this political pundit says something very weird to me because it's a complete contradiction to what they said to Chandra Ari. Take a listen.
I just have to ask Wiley, does anyone ever heard of a debate you were invited to as a political party that you had to pay a cover charge to participate in? $75,000. I've never heard of that, Rob. Like, no. You know, if you organize it, you pay it, right? You host it.
Often in the United States and in other countries as well.
Yeah.
This debate is sponsored by, in other words, people put up the money, rent a hall, in order to get the politicians to come and tell citizens what they're going to do, how they're going to be governed. Never heard of this before. That being said, it is a disadvantage for Mr. Carney to debate in French. His French is labored. I know other people disagree with me, some others in the punditocracy. The question is whether or not Quebecers care about that. Up until now, all of the evidence that I've seen, all the research I've seen suggests no.
So now apparently the Quebecers don't care about French or how good your French is. Yet when Chandra Arya was making this exact point, saying, oh no, Quebecers don't care about the language, they just want to see what it is that you can bring to them, they fought back at him and said, no, you need to know French. This is very important to them. And here's a refresher of that conversation.
How's your French?
No.
No French?
No French.
Okay, the Liberal Party of Canada is the party of official bilingualism. It's going to be a tough one. I don't speak French either, so
The point is that whether the Quebecers are English Canadians, it's not the language that matters, it's what is that they deliver to them.
But the language matters very much in Quebec.
No.
Mr. Arya, if you're going to run for Prime Minister, I mean, you have to know that the French language matters and the French it matters in Quebec.
Trust me.
Profoundly.
So it matters profoundly when Chandra Arya says something, but with Mark Carney just not accepting the debate, that's fine. Now, I will give it to Mark Carney that at least he knows some French, unlike Chandra. But if we take a look at this article from the National Post, it says, Carney says no merci to the Quebec debate revealing French anxieties. TVA announced that it was asking the 4 main political parties to contribute $75,000 each to participate due to a lack of funding. Now, it goes down to here saying that the Bloc Québécois quickly signed up, and Pierre Poilievre even challenged Carney to do the same, which Carney ended up giving a childish response to before eventually it coming out saying that he's not even going to be doing it. Take a look.
Bonjour, Monsieur Carney, c'est Fanny Olivier de Radio-Canada. Le chef conservateur Pierre Poilievre vous met au défi de participer au face-à-face de TVA. Est-ce que vous allez le faire?
Pourquoi pas?
Pourquoi pas?
Oui, pourquoi pas, oui, oui. Il y aura des débats entre les chefs.
Now, the article does go on to say that he wants to debate all the political parties, including the Greens. However, TVA did not invite them to this. But later it says the party did not explain why he would not participate. A source speaking on the background said that there was a reluctance to pay for the event. So he has an issue paying $75,000 for this event, yet spending $500,000 flying around on the new plane to France, England, none of it. He's got no problem with that, it seems. And you know it's bad when even the NDP is calling you out, saying it's very insulting to Quebec. No matter what the excuse he gives, the truth is that Mark Carney prefers to hide and not answer questions in French, which is very apparent because every time he gets a question in English and is asked to follow it up in French, you just see him kind of throw up his arms, say like, okay, like which section? Do you want the whole question? Whereas all the other leaders, they just say it. They don't ask questions. They don't get into it. He needs specific sections of his question answered. They'll say, oh, just answer on the Trump thing or just answer on the spending thing. They won't make him redo the whole sentence because he sucks at French. But one other interesting article that's coming out of Quebec is that a member of the Bloc party said dealing with the Liberals is worse than dealing with Trump. Liberals outraged after the Bloc candidate says that they are worse than Trump. Stephen Guilbeault was furious about the suggestion that his party was a bigger threat to the country than the U.S. president. Bloc Québécois Dennis Trudeau says he believes that the U.S. President Donald Trump's threat of annexation and tariffs are less frightening than the Liberal Party of Canada. As for Quebec, quite sincerely, I am much more afraid of the Liberals than of Trump. And you know, you gotta love to hear that because it's true. People should be worried about the Liberals. They have put us into this economic paralysis, and more people are coming out and speaking about it, but they still don't seem to put the two and two together that this is because of the Liberal Party. I mean, just look at a few of these stories and what the people are saying.
Of course, I've had to fund the business myself out of my personal savings to keep the lights on. Sorry about that. Pay taxes, all the things that come with running a small business. Didn't expect this. Sorry about that.
There's nothing to be sorry about.
But anyway, living in Oceus, and I've even had to make a career change. I'm now living in Kelowna. Started a career in real estate finance because I could see the writing on the wall. Have really good people that work for me, taking care of it for me while I do other things. I haven't collected a paycheck from my business since June of last year. Now it's getting to the point where I'm wondering, how much longer can I pay my staff?
There's one major thing he wants from the next federal government, whoever leads it.
Bring down the cost of living. Bring it right down. Like, it's crazy.
Housing and rent in Toronto are among the most expensive in the country, but people everywhere are struggling.
We can't take vacations. I can't take time off of work just so that I can afford to live.
It's the same with me. I live in a four-person household, including me, and we're all living paycheck to paycheck.
Same in BC.
Would love to have retired 5-6 years ago, but quite honestly, every time I think about going to retire, everything keeps going up.
And then there's the sticker shock at the checkout.
Groceries, I've probably fallen over looking at steaks and stuff going, don't we have cattle in Alberta and BC? Roast beefs are like, yeah, food is crazy.
Now, those were Canadians from all across the country. You have ones near the border, you have some that are in Toronto, some in BC, and it doesn't matter the demographic, the age, none of that. Everybody is saying how unaffordable it is. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They can't afford groceries. They can't afford retiring. This guy doesn't even know if he can afford paying his staff members, and he's breaking down crying. Yet these guys are considering re-electing a Liberal Party for the fourth term. It just makes no sense to me. And this ties into the next story with Danielle Smith, where everybody is now on her case saying election interference and just emphasizing that she was on a U.S. media outlet, but keeps talking about how it's right wing. Yet you never hear that whenever she's on any other media outlets, like she's on CNN or MSNBC or any other American outlets that's more left leaning. They never emphasize that. But look at all the times that they emphasize right wing or conservative when she herself is a conservative.
Premier Danielle Smith, she is denying that she urged the U.S. government to interfere in the Canadian federal election. This weekend, an interview she did with Breitbart, which is a right-wing U.S. media company, drew some attention.
Premier Danielle Smith insists she was doing the right thing for Alberta during a controversial interview with a right-wing U.S. news outlet.
The federal election has been called and candidates are now making their case to lead our country. But it's a 2-week-old interview with Danielle Smith getting the most attention. Alberta's premier spoke with right-wing U.S. news outlet Breitbart.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is making waves following an interview she gave earlier this month. She was speaking with Breitbart News, a right-wing U.S. media company.
Premier Danielle Smith has come under fire after seeking help from the Trump administration, which she now denies. In an interview with a U.S. conservative news outlet,
like, to me, that is just insane how much they're emphasizing it. You never heard that when Doug Ford was on CNN or MSNBC, even when Danielle Smith was on CNN or Wab Kinew or any of the premiers talking to American outlets. You never heard about left-wing media outlets or left-leaning media. But because she was on a media platform that's a little bit more right or right-leaning or conservative, this is all they're pushing. And then to also insinuate that she's dabbling in foreign interference when the chief electoral officer came out today and even said what she's doing, it doesn't constitute as that. Take a listen.
Emily Hawes, Globe and Mail.
Hi there. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith told a U.S. podcast that she asked the Trump administration to pause tariffs until after the Canadian election in hopes of seeing a Conservative win. Do you consider that foreign election interference?
So elections interference is something that is not a term that's used in the Elections Act, but there's a number of provisions in the Act that may be relevant to foreign interference. So, for example, there is a provision on undue influence by foreign entities. There are rules on spending and third-party activities. The facts that you refer to do not trigger any of these.
Okay, thank you.
Now, even with him saying that, I'm sure the media is going to continue to push to say that she's dabbling in some sort of interference. I'm sure in Alberta, the NDP is going to ask for her to resign. But let me just play for you what was actually said.
Take a listen to what the Premier of Alberta said when asked if Canadians are likely to vote Conservative.
Before the tariff war, I would say yes. I mean, Pierre Poilievre is the name of the Conservative Party leader, and he was miles ahead of Justin Trudeau. But because of the what we see as unjust and unfair tariffs, it's actually caused an increase in the support for the Liberals. And so that's what I fear, is that the longer this dispute goes on, politicians posture, and it seems to be benefiting the Liberals right now. So I would hope that we could put things on pause, is what I've told administration officials. Let's just put things on pause so we can get through an election. Let's have the best person at the table make the argument for how they would deal with it, and I think that's Pierre Poilievre.
Now, I personally don't see anything wrong with what she said there. She's expressing her point of view, what she would prefer. She's giving something that we've all been talking about. Let's have somebody who has a 4-year mandate to deal with Trump get a proper agreement with the tariff situation. Because guess what? Carney has still yet to do anything, and he even admitted this today when he was being interviewed.
As far as we know, you've not spoken to Donald Trump since you took office. What effort precisely have you made to speak with him, and what is your government doing precisely to prepare for the April 2nd tariffs?
So, with respect to the president is waiting for the outcome of the election and see who has a strong mandate from Canadians. We've done a number of things to put us in a strong position. See, this is a fundamental mistake that the Americans are making. They think they will weaken us. They think that they can own us, quite frankly. That's what they think. We are going to get stronger. We are going to wait this out. They're going to come to the table, and we're going to negotiate a good deal for the Canadians. Thank you,
Sorry,
Steve.
sir, did you say that President Trump is waiting to talk to the Prime Minister of whoever wins this election?
Well, that's an interpretation, but I think it's a reasonable interpretation. I'm available for a call, but, you know, we're going to talk on our terms as a sovereign country, not as what he pretends we are, and on a comprehensive deal.
So we got this guy just twiddling his thumbs, apparently waiting for Trump to give him a call, yet also saying that Trump is waiting for the election results so that he can deal with the new prime minister, when he is our current prime minister and has had plenty of time, at least almost 2 weeks now, to reach out to the administration and talk to them. But you know what I find to be actual election interference is that video that I was referencing earlier in the video. This guy's whole Stop Polyev video is promoting splitting the votes so that the Conservatives lose in a vast majority of the ridings. He's suggesting that the Liberals and the NDP make a one-time pack, like we've heard that before, and if the NDP is not doing so hot in that riding, that they should just pull their candidate so that the Liberal can take all of those votes and the Liberal will beat the Conservative, or vice versa. If the Liberal's not doing so hot in that riding, pull that candidate and pump the NDP member with it so that they take that riding from the Conservative. That, to me, seems like a lot of rigging happening. Yet, when you're listening to these panelists, even the Conservative members are now saying they don't know why Danielle Smith said this, that it's going to hurt Pierre Poilievre. Just take a listen.
I've just got 2 minutes. I want to get everybody in. Shakir, he got a couple of questions, Mr. Poilievre, on both days of the campaign so far. He quickly pivoted to, his own messaging about what Canada should do. How do you anticipate he does handle what I think Dan rightly points out will be things raised on the trail all the time?
Yeah, and listen, it obviously will be a difficult dance. Like you rightly pointed out, both on day one and today, they tried to ask him about Trump and his Trump comparison. So we'll see how he does moving forward. I think Danielle Smith obviously did him no favors. And I think the bigger issue with Danielle Smith is I actually don't think a lot of Canadians heard this clip or understand what was going on right now. But what I do think is going to happen is that the Liberals are going to take this clip and at some point in the campaign, put an ad together. And I think that repetition of what she's saying is going to be damaging down the road. So I do think Pierre has a delicate dance ahead in terms of how he navigates the Trump issue. But I mean, if he has one saving grace, Donald Trump himself has said he's no MAGA guy. He's not like me. So I think that gives him some distance on the issue.
Listen, he's also said that he's more aligned with Pierre Poilievre, right? Trump has said that his views are more aligned with Pierre Poilievre. So listen, the only person that's not endorsed so far by Trump is Jagmeet Singh. So maybe he can put that in his hat and get some votes there, because right now there's no tolerance on behalf of Canadians. And I just want to challenge one point that Shakir said. There's an insatiable appetite for Canadians to look at the news on what Trump is saying and what others are saying to Trump right now about Canada. So I think people will hear the statement about what Danielle Smith said, imploring Trump basically to make sure that he backs off so Pierre Poilievre could win. I think it's incredibly problematic. Listen, people are shunning their friends who are going to Florida. They are shunning people who buy U.S. products in the grocery store. They are upset about this fight, and they're going to be upset at the Premier of Alberta that she's put her party, both provincially and federally, ahead of our country.
First of all, if you have a family member or a friend who's shunning you because you decided to go to Florida or buy an American product over a Canadian product at the store, just ignore them. They're not worth your time or your effort. But I don't see this being Danielle Smith putting her party over the country. She's looking out for the country because she's seen what the Liberals have done for the past 9-10 years to us and wants a Conservative government to help fix everything. It's not that she's only thinking about Albertans, she's thinking about Canadians as a whole. Because if the Conservatives come in and can fix things, then Canada will be better off completely. But it is rich coming from Kathleen Monk when she has this guy, Ian Wayne, who works at Monk & Associates, who's behind the Protecting Canada garbage that we keep seeing, this NDP liberal propaganda that's constantly attacking Pierre Poilievre. She's okay with all this. Look at these guys. They have trucks. This guy's openly promoting it on his Twitter page. Yet she's here complaining about what Danielle Smith did. And funny enough, this guy above me, Brad Levine, he actually was on that panel last night. And David Cochran's talking to him about, candidates wearing MAGA hats and how this is going to look poor for them optically.
We've seen candidates being appointed by the Conservatives, and old selfies of them and Make America Great Again hats are being brought out. Like, this is a thing that they're going to need to deal with throughout the campaign, because on the socials, it seems this will have traction.
It'll only gain traction because of the way the media portrays it. Just a few weeks ago, they were talking about how Pierre is emanating a Trump-like figure because he had a giant Canada flag at his rally, just like Trump had a giant U.S. flag. But now everybody all of a sudden is super patriotic, when the past 3 years, if you had a flag outside of your house, and believe me, I know this because a lot of people in my area were very ashamed of having their flag up because they attributed it to being tied in with the trucker convoy. You were a far-right extremist if you wanted to have the Canadian flag up. But now all of a sudden the media is like, yeah, we're Canada first. Elbows up, guys. Let's be super patriotic. It is cringe. It is disgusting. These people are flip-floppers. It's only beneficial when it serves them. And this is the issue with the current state of our country. We need strong leadership. We need Pierre to get in there. This is my take. Love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Again, please hit the subscribe button. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.